Roselle Solomon. I'm a social worker in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, and it is my pleasure to be your chairperson this morning. As we go into our program, I would like to invite Mrs. Gwyneth Stoddard to open us up in prayer, and we will keep standing for the national anthem, which will be led by Mr. Ron. Formal segment of this morning's proceedings. Let me invite Ms. Patsy Wiley, Chief Health Promotion Officer, to bring us remarks.
Chairperson, Ms. Roselle Solomon, members of the head table, representative from the Ministry of Education, and our proud sponsor, of which we are very happy to have among us this morning, Digicel, teachers, students, the media, my colleagues in the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and the Environment. Let me bring you these few remarks because I know that your main reason for being here this morning is to listen to the students, our grade 6 students, whom I think many of them would have done their teachers and parents proud at the last CPEA exams. Unclean, unclean. The voices sounded in unison, and immediately in the narrow lane, there was a sense of urgency as persons looked around to see where the voices were coming from as they scampered in the opposite direction. As they looked, they saw 3 human forms looking miserable. In this Middle Eastern town, their clothes were torn, their hair unkempt, with the lower part of their faces covered as they warned everyone around them not to get close because they were lepers. The law of the day said, anyone with such a defiling disease as leprosy must wear torn clothes, let their hair be unkempt, cover the lower part of their face, and cry out, unclean, unclean. It is the law. Both those who were well and the sick had a responsibility to protect themselves from each other. Then one day, the shocking news hit that there was a religious teacher named Jesus from Nazareth, and he had touched a leper and healed him. He had done the unthinkable. Today, as a result of vast improvement in modern medicine, leprosy no longer holds that dread and fear. Disease always brings with it fear of death, suffering and pain, and a low quality of life, often as a result of stigmatization. Hence, people who have any disease, especially one that can be passed on, are always seen as a threat to the rest of the community. This has been the case in every civilization. Thankfully, with the use of technology, mankind has been able to find cures for some of the diseases that devastated or caused wholesale suffering in whole generations in the past. One of these technologies is the vaccine. It's where they're able to take a bit of the disease and introduce it into the body in a controlled fashion so that the body could learn how to detect it and defend against it. This has allowed better management of the diseases in the public's interest. Today, there are those who oppose the vaccine, claiming that vaccines themselves are causing problems, and the threat is that persons who have not been vaccinated may be able to infect the wider population. It is based on that we have asked the students to discuss whether the anti-vaxxers, as they are called, threaten to retard the progress already made in public health. As with every discussion, there are two sides to the argument. And so, for this year's public speaking, we have decided to challenge the thoughts of our primary school students. I am eager to hear their views and how they feel we should approach this very important subject, or if they even care. These students here today are the ones who are going to be living this experience. Hence, it's important that they get a chance to think through the issues and put their heads to a solution. Would we be living in a world that of the first century, where people had to shout their status to the community so that they could avoid them? Or could we impress the anti-vaxxers the importance of using this technology for the good of all? As always, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment take our health promotion seriously, and not only do we want this to be an issue to primary school students, we encourage similar discussions in the wider community. Before I end, let me share with you one reason why I'm very proud today. 16 years ago today, there was, and this is how it started, a European Union project. And working in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, I had two supervisors that are represented here today as judges. One of them on my far left, Mrs. Andy Roche. She was the health planner at the time and the manager of the project. And on her left, Mrs. Verlene Saunders, who was the permanent secretary at that point in time in 2003. So these were the two people who okayed the public speaking competition. So I'm very proud that they're here today as judges. And thank you once again. It has lived for 16 years, and I pray that it will continue when I leave the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in the not too distant future. Okay? So let me get out of the way and let's hear these young men and women hear their thoughts. I want to leave this thought with you, which represent the views of the Ministry of Health. We join with the American scientist Seth Berkley, who said vaccines are extremely cost-effective, giving kids a healthy start in life, and supporting the economic and educational foundations of entire communities. They directly lead to a healthy workforce, which is so critical to long-term development and prosperity in all countries, with St. Vincent and the Grenadines being no exception. Thank you very much, and all the best to our students.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley. And let me call to the podium. Make sure I get. All right. Let me call to the podium Mrs. Hannah Brown, Senior Education Officer with responsibility for primary schools. Mrs. Hannah Brown, let's welcome her.
Chairperson, Mrs. Patsy Wiley, Chief Health Promotion Officer, representative of Digicel, judges, principals, teachers, participants, members of the media, parents, everyone, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, isn't it? The Ministry of Education is pleased that the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment has chosen to collaborate with us in hosting the annual Primary Schools Public Speaking Competition. We are particularly pleased because this competition embraces the different facets of literacy and provides an avenue through which our students can express themselves orally. In hosting this competition yearly, the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and the Environment continues to provide our students with the opportunity to voice their opinions on matters directly relating to healthcare, issues that affect them personally as children. The Ministry of Education therefore wishes to publicly thank you for recognizing the need to contribute to our students' development in this way and for raising awareness of critical issues that impact us as a people, even those that may threaten our very existence. This competition is designed to help our students to become clear, confident speakers. It enhances students' overall fluency and requires them to carefully consider how they speak and what they say. It also serves to develop their critical thinking skills and leadership abilities. For many people, standing up in public and delivering a speech is one of their greatest fears. The Ministry of Education therefore celebrates with all participants gathered here and commends them for the confidence they have displayed by just participating in this activity. We also want to applaud the schools that are represented here today. Your commitment to these students at this time when so many things are happening in our schools is commendable. Teachers, thank you for the support and guidance that you have given to these students in preparing them for this activity. Without you, they would not be here today, so we thank you. We also wish to thank Digicel for their continued support in sponsoring this competition. This type of collaboration is appreciated by the Ministry of Education. Students, I wish you all the best. And we can see that today is going to be a very competitive day. To all of you, we say congratulations for reaching this milestone. The Ministry of Education salutes you and we wish you all the best as you deliver your speeches. We also wish you every success as you continue to excel academically. Remember, the only person who can put a limit on you is you. While all of you will place first in this competition, please remember that giving your best at what you do is extremely important. Success lies within you. Never be content with just barely getting by. We are here to support you. At the end of the day, you are all winners, whether you place first in this competition or not. Once again, let me wish all of you success as you compete. God's blessing.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. And now we invite to the podium Miss Najma Mackenzie. I got it correct? Fantastic. Miss Najma Mackenzie representing Digicel. She is the marketing executive here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Chairperson, Ms. Roselle Solomon, Chief Health Promotion Officer, Ms. Patsy Wiley, representative of the Ministry of Education, principals, teachers, judges, representatives from the media, participants, students, and all present, good morning. It's always a pleasure for Digicel to support the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Environment's annual primary school public speaking competition. Each year, when the ministry reaches out to us, it's always a yes, and we must. This is the development of the young minds of SVG. And I stress young minds of today, not just of the future. as popularly coined, as these steps that you're taking today is molding you in the present, correct? So what you children are doing today and not just simply preparing you for leadership in the future, but it's shaping each of you into the outstanding young citizens that you are today. And I extend congratulations to you, as this most of you would have, I hope all of you were successful in this year's CPEA examinations. So congratulations. I mentioned that each year when the ministry reaches out, it's a definite yes. Our only challenge as a company is to determine how can we make this year better than the last? How can our support impact this year better than it would have last year? And this year, Digicel, we think that we certainly have. The top 3 places in this year's competition will not just be receiving 3 smartphones, compliments Digicel, but also cash. A sum of $1,000 cash, which will be split, yes, $1,000, which will be split into the following categories. First place, $500. Second place, $300. And third place, $200. So we are excited, aren't we? Digicel's values are heavily aligned with this competition, as we've been supporting for numerous years. As a telecommunication company, communication is important, and this is one of the skills of which you are developing today and expressing in your public speaking students. We commend you for your courage. We wish you all the best in this year's competition, and remember, each of you are winners by simply coming up here and representing yourself and your school, and you've made all of us proud. Good luck.
Digicel. All right, so we are getting there, and I'm seeing anxious faces, I'm seeing hands being, just fidgeting, but don't worry, we're getting there. We're making sure that we're warming up the place for you, okay? Great. So everyone, let me introduce the persons who are responsible for this morning's selection of our winners. They are seated, to my extreme left. So let me introduce them. First, we have Anne Claudia Dorothy, trained as a registered nurse midwife with 44 years working in the Ministry of Health, a career spanning clerical officer, registered nurse, staff nurse, district nurse, nursing tutor, and senior nursing officer of the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. She retired as health planner in the same Ministry of Health and then assisted the General Nursing Council for 5 years. Listen to this, she's enjoying retirement. Now listen, you see these little faint applauses that we have going on? They will have to stop, okay? I'm not tolerating any mediocre applause this morning. Next we have Mrs. Verlene Saunders. She holds a diploma in business administration. She's a retired permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, served the public service for 37 years in various ministries. And she says to that she's happily retired. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Verlene. And the male bringing up the rear. Mr. Ronnie Daniel. He's a former youth director in the Methodist Church in the Kingstown, Chateaubelair Circuit. Marketing assistant, the UE Open Campus in Vincent and the Grenadines. He's currently a student at the Cave Hill Campus UE, reading for a PhD in political science, and he enjoys long drives around the country and taking an annual trip to the Grenadines. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ronnie. So our judges are Ms. Ann Doroshe, Mrs. Verlene Saunders, and Mr. Ronnie Daniel. Great. All right. So let's get to business. Let's introduce our participants this morning. First we have, and I want you to stand and present yourself to the audience. Let them see who this person is. All right? First we have, make sure I pronounce it correctly. Is it Ryan Cozier? Ryan Cozier from the Beckway Anglican Primary. Thank you, Ryan. Janique Shallow, Lower Bay Primary. Aaron Junior Johnson from the C.W. Prescott Primary. Give them a wave, right? Shania Martin, Kingstown Government School. Christy Williams, Fancy Government School. Damani Roberts, Barley Government School. And Fina Bowens, Clare Valley Government School. So stand again, let them see you. Stand again, stand up, stand up. Let's get our participants this morning a round of applause. All right, thank you. So we're getting there. Let me just say this. I know that we all came without various reasons, and their teachers, parents, their well-wishers, and you came with a particular student in mind. But I want you to remember that. I want you to encourage everyone. I want you to be supportive, give positive feedback this morning, because it's not easy being before persons. To say all speaking is public, but sometimes it's a different relationship when there are a lot of people. So please give them positive feedback. I want you to clap resoundingly, give them that support this morning. Great, because speech is power. Everything worth doing starts with being scared. So let's get that out of the way, okay? All right. So let me give you some rules this morning. There would be a prepared segment of your presentation, a prepared speech, and there's also an impromptu segment. Okay, your prepared speech, I'm sure you brought with you, you've been practicing, and the impromptu, you will come this way and you will select from this pretty little bag. Okay, you will have some time to present and then to prepare and then you present. Firstly, all speakers must stand while they hold the floor, and we've prepared a little stand here for you so that you'll be able to see you. All participants must conduct themselves in a courteous manner throughout the competition. The use of props is not permitted. Each participant is allowed 8 minutes for his or her prepared speech, presentation. The bell will ring once to signal you to start the presentation. The bell will ring again once to signal 7 minutes, which means you have 1 more minute left. There will be a double bell after 8 minutes, indicating that your time is up. There will be a continuous bell after 8.5 minutes. So don't go too long because you have to keep ringing. Okay, so let me say that again. The bell, each participant is allowed 8 minutes for his or her prepared speech presentation. The bell will ring once to signal you to start the presentation. The bell will ring again once to signal 7 minutes. There will be a double bell after 8 minutes, indicating that time is up. There will be a continuous bell after 8.5 minutes. For your impromptu segment, participants will be given a topic, and we'll select a topic, and we'll have 1 minute to put their thoughts together. You'll have paper here to help you sort it through, and 1 minute to speak. You select 1 minute to prepare and 1 minute to speak. So we will start in the order that we called you earlier. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Let me remind you, so I'm going to ask all participants except Ryan Cozier to exit. Please, you'll follow the young lady there in the middle. Right. Welcome, Miss Ryan Cozier from the Beckwith Anglican Primary.
Madam Chairperson, honorary guests, parents, teachers, students, good morning. We are here today speaking on a topic which I personally think is a no-brainer. Anti-vaccines, a threat to the advancement in public health. Anti-vaccine is simply, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, being opposed to the use of vaccines. In other words, Madam Chairperson, a lower dose of the disease is injected into the body so that the immune system can build a resistance to the real thing when it is encountered. It's like the time Tommy sat on a mango branch that he was cutting. We all can guess the outcome of that. I learned from Tommy's error and that never happened to me. Unfortunately, there is no vaccine for stupidity and Tommy eventually broke an arm. Vaccines, Madam Chairperson, is much like common sense. If you have it, unfortunate mishaps can be prevented. However, there is some merit to those persons who are against vaccinations, or I should say there was merit for their fears and myths have long been dispelled. In 1763, vaccination was introduced in France by an Italian doctor. Unfortunately, he did not properly quarantine the persons that he vaccinated and so put other persons in Paris at a risk of contracting the injected disease. The French Parliament therefore ordered that no more vaccines be given. In England, in the 1790s, persons were vaccinated with cowpox instead of smallpox. There were even cases reported that children who were vaccinated later developed brain damage and autism. This claim is still being broadly encouraged today across social media panels and even by celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, who are playing a major role in this miseducation, therefore giving credence to the anti-vax campaign. Madam Chairperson, before we even continue, might I give you a timely reminder that we are currently in the 21st century and the dates I mentioned are of the 18th century. We now live in the age of bionic body parts. Do you really believe that the incompetencies faced back then are still a problem today? Utter rubbish, Mr. Chair, Madam Chairperson. However, I can also take a look at history as well as to debunk the anti-vax theories. Before the year 1492, when Christopher Columbus and other explorers came to our islands, the indigenous people lived long, healthy lives. Then, the Europeans invaded and brought with them what were considered common diseases, which, as history shows, wiped out a vast number of the indigenous people. The Caribs and Arawaks were never in the slightest exposed to what these Europeans would have overcome in a matter of days, so it overwhelmed their immune systems and led to death. This only goes to show, Madam Chairperson, the dangers we face by not being vaccinated against these diseases in today's world. The anti-vax movement has rallied for their right to refuse the vaccines. However, Madam Chairperson, by allowing them, this decision makes them a direct threat to persons who do not have the luxury of making such a decision. Dr. Diane Hess, a pediatrician and medical director of Gramercy Pediatrics in New York City, believes that everyone must play their part in obtaining and maintaining world health. As such, Dr. Diane Hess doesn't accept any patients at her children's clinic who aren't up to date with their vaccinations. I make a promise to my patients, she said, that I will do my best to keep their children healthy. So if I have a patient that has cancer or leukemia or any type of immunosuppressive illness, and they sit in my waiting room and somebody comes in with measles and my patient dies, then I didn't keep my oath. That's how I feel. You need a population to be immunized to protect the people who cannot be immunized. That, Madam Chairperson, is only fair, don't you think? Why endanger the lives of many others because of the anti-vax beliefs? Anti-vax have all based their beliefs of the dangers which surrounds vaccines on unproven medical outcomes, religious doctrines, or myths, all of which holds to no concrete evidence or scientific proof, and as such are putting the lives of many others in danger. In the year 2000, the United States of America accomplished a major medical feat. There were no cases of measles transmitted by patients. All cases were imported by infected patients from outside of the US. During this time, celebrities came forward using their reach across social media, claiming that the MMR vaccines for measles cause autism in children. Although there has never been and still is no medical proof of this, the information took root in persons' minds and parents began once more to refuse vaccinations for their children. Between the years of 2013 and 2015, the US saw 3 major outbreaks of measles, which resulted in 1,015 cases which only occurred in communities where parents did not have their children vaccinated because of philosophical or religious beliefs. This disease, which was once thought of as eliminated, made a comeback because children did not get their MMR vaccines. This placed a strain on healthcare facilities and caused deaths. Who is to be blamed for this, Madam Chairperson? Well, I'm quite sure you had all your vaccines, so I know you know the answer to that question. Vaccines go through years of extensive processing and testing before it is administered, and with its decades worth of successes, I think it's high time that the anti-vaccination movement wake up and come to their senses. It's also high time that doctors, teachers, scientists, and other influential systems work together to edify persons about the importance of inoculation and debunk the multitude of myths which surrounds vaccination, particularly targeting parents. Focus must be placed on helping parents to gain the trust of health professionals, which will therefore combat the misinformation about vaccines as is spread by powerful persons, social media, and news media platforms. It is high time, Madam Chairperson, that we start using common sense. Prevention is indeed better than cure. Be vaccinated. Do not be the cause of other people's ailments. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you kindly give Miss Pause your round of applause, please? Judges, she spoke for 8 minutes 45 seconds. We just had a last entry. Kathleen Brown from the Stubbs Primary School is waiting outside for her to come in. Let's give her a round of applause. Let's welcome Ms. Janique Shallow from the Lower Bay Primary. Janique Shallow. Janique, come and get acquainted with the podium and we'll let you know when to start.
The famous writer Joseph Conrad says, "He who wants to persuade should put his trust not in the right arguments, but in the right words." Madam Chairperson, judges, fellow participants, members of the Ministry of Education, members of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, principals, teachers, students, and other members of the audience, a pleasant good morning to you. Madam Chairperson, our topic is anti-vax, a threat to the advancements in public health. The word anti-vax refers to people who oppose vaccination. That is, anti-vax are against vaccination. I did not know such people existed. Now, Madam Chairperson, to begin, let's be clear what we mean by advancements in public health. Advancements mean improvements, and public health connects us all. It is the science of protecting and improving the health of people and their communities. Measles, whooping cough, diphtheria, rubella, polio, and smallpox. These shallow diseases only became familiar to me during a health and family life education class when I was in grade 4. However, there were serious problems with my great-grandparents and grandparents and other people of their times. These diseases once caused great suffering to many in the society and were responsible for high childhood mortality rates. Evidence of this still lingers. In some countries, when you pass through an old cemetery from the early part of the 20th century, the headstones would reveal rows of graves of children under 5 who died from natural causes. Those usually included the diseases I mentioned above. Madam Chairperson, vaccination has become one of the most effective tools in addressing these infectious diseases. Thanks to advances in science, medicine, and public health, which led to mandatory childhood immunization, these shallow diseases have now been eliminated or significantly reduced. Fear of vaccines and myths against them are not new. Opposition to vaccines goes as far back as the 18th century when, for example, Reverend Edmund Massey in England called vaccines diabolical operations in his 17th century sermon, The Dangerous and Sinful Practice of Inoculation. He saw vaccines as an attempt to impose God's punishments upon man for his sins. Today, other arguments are used and may in fact be more effective in spreading the anti-vaccination message. So, I restate the question before me. Is anti-vax a threat to the advancements in public health? Madam Chairperson, I boldly conclude that they are a threat. Here is why. Research has shown that while vaccination rates in USA have consistently been higher than 95% over the past 60 years, in some areas, the rate is falling below what is required to guarantee protection for all. Current vaccination rates have now fallen to an average 91% for measles, mumps, and rubella, and only 83.4% for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. Public health professionals in the United States have recently noticed a new and troubling rise in many of these diseases, with measles being the leading offender. The Center for Disease Control reports that cases of measles in the first 3 months of 2019 have already exceeded all of 2018. Outbreaks have occurred in 26 days, and the problem is spreading. Madam Chairperson, even in our country, the anti-vax movement is on the rise. According to an article by Dr. Rasman Adams in the Sunshine newspaper, January 22, 2019, there is a great reluctance and refusal to the use of vaccines despite their availability. He further stated that all efforts must be taken in order to ensure immunization coverage is maintained to prevent the spread of vaccine-preventable diseases. Madam Chairperson, we must ask, why the backsliding? The false claims against vaccinations have led to reduced rates of immunizations and to the recent outbreaks of these diseases, such as measles, that were thought to be eliminated. Voices such as Jenny McCarthy, a famous American actress and mother of a son with autism, have proven to be influential, causing fear and distrust in parents. Such people claim that autism is linked to the vaccines for measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR. Madam Chairperson, what they do not tell you is that all of these findings are false and are based on flawed experiments. Other researchers have done these same experiments and have found no links between vaccinations and specific diseases or problems. Furthermore, some of the research results that these noticed spokespeople's claims are based on were collected from experiments funded by the anti-vax movement. This was a conflict of interest and led to conclusions being formed from data collected in biased experiments, like those conducted by Andrew Wakefield, a discredited British doctor who also claimed that autism is linked to the MMR vaccine. These fake experts are suggesting that if these diseases are under control, there is absolutely no need to run the risk of vaccinating small children. But they fail to recognize that these diseases are under control precisely because of the effectiveness of vaccines. The World Health Organization has advocated vaccination for many childhood diseases. This campaign to vaccinate as many children as possible has led to the eradication of smallpox, a disease which caused many deaths and deformities among past generations of children. The World Health Assembly declared smallpox eradicated in 1980. Vaccination caused that. Even a single confirmed case of smallpox today would be considered an emergency. In order for these diseases to stay under control, we must stay the course and continue to vaccinate. Remember that vaccines have individual and social benefits. If enough people are vaccinated, the so-called herd immunity protects individuals who cannot be vaccinated. What this means is that the more people are vaccinated, the more difficult it is for these diseases to spread and affect others. Madam Chairperson, although these anti-vax conduct research claiming that vaccinations are not responsible for the progress of health today and that this progress is based on clean water, better living conditions, and better housing, still, there is overwhelming scientific evidence showing that vaccinations have saved the lives of millions of people all over the world, and it is one of the most successful public health interventions ever. Madam Chairperson, let's take a look at the impossible expectations of these anti-vax. For example, they expect 100% safety. Expecting 100% safety is unrealistic. No medical product or intervention, whether aspirin or surgery, can ever be guaranteed 100% safe. This is partly because each person's body reacts differently to treatment. However, what we do know for sure is that being vaccinated lowers the risk of contracting and spreading these deadly diseases. In the worst case scenario, these diseases will kill millions. The anti-vax movement has created fear, but no one has created an alternative to vaccines that is as safe, as effective, and yes, as trusted. The science speaks loudly and clearly. Vaccines work and far outweigh any risk, real or made up. Those who say otherwise and wear the label anti-vax are a danger to such progress and to public health. Madam Chairperson, I thank you.
Thank you, Janique Shallow. Give her a round of applause. As the judges tally, Janique spoke for 8 minutes, 19 seconds. And while she was speaking, I recognized as a lady walked in and her face changed. She smiled and I asked, was that mommy? She said, yes. Listen, when parents are involved in their children's lives, they flourish. And mommies, daddies, parents, caregivers, we encourage your continued efforts in your children's lives. Right? The judges will let me know when they are ready for the next competitor. Our topic this morning is anti-vax, a threat to the advancements in public health. Let's welcome from the C.W. Prescott Primary School, Hiron Jr. Johnson.
Representatives from the Ministry of Health, representatives from the Ministry of Education, my fair representatives from Digicel, judges, principals, teachers, my fellow participants, and well-wishers, a pleasant morning to all. I would like to share a tale about two cities I read about. In a certain city, fever, dry cough, runny nose, sore throat, inflamed eyes, and spots were found on 5-year-old Sarah. I asked my mom, what are these symptoms associated with? She said it sounded like a cold or allergies. Sarah was unvaccinated and had contracted measles. An unvaccinated 6-year-old boy was hospitalized for 2 months and almost died while playing on his farm. He contracted tetanus. For those who wondered the ending of my tales, Sarah, from the United Kingdom, was left with lasting disabilities, including deafness, partial sight, and learning difficulties. Although the unvaccinated 6-year-old boy from the United States recovered, his parents received a medical bill of US $1 million for inpatient rehabilitation given. Madam Chairperson, you may ask what relevance my tales has with today's topic, anti-vax, a threat to the advancements in public health. Well, both children suffered immensely because they were unvaccinated, which makes these cases a part of the anti-vax movement. Anti-vax are persons who oppose vaccinations, like the parents in my tales. Based on all my research, I agree that anti-vax are a threat to the advancements in public health. I believe that this anti-vax movement is gaining traction because many do not understand the purpose of vaccines and have been misinformed. Don't fear, I am here to shed some light. Vaccines work by allowing our immune system to use white blood cells in our blood to fight infections. It tricks the body into thinking it's infected, so it produces antibodies. So we get benefits of antibody production in our blood without the complications of a real infection. The anti-vax movement uses social media as a platform to spread misinformation about vaccines. We all know that there has been a surge in the number of experts on Twitter and Facebook on a wide range of topics, not just vaccines. Persons belonging to the anti-vax movement pose a great many threats to public health wherever they are. I would like to highlight my top 2 threats. First, anti-vax threaten existing travel and leisure. Can you believe that an unvaccinated 5-year-old French boy is suspected of bringing measles back to Costa Rica in 2019? The last time one of Costa Rica's citizens had measles was in 2006. The 5-year-old boy arrived with his parents in February. and now Costa Rica is enacting a national surveillance protocol. Costa Rica has a thriving tourism, but incidents such as this have many reconsidering such vacation destinations. Another threat anti-vax pose to public health is the rise in preventable diseases. In the past century or so, humans have fought and won their fair share of battles with diseases like smallpox, scarlet fever, and mosquito-borne illnesses. Despite these successes, some diseases appear to be making a comeback. Madam Chairperson, recently, outbreaks of measles and cholera have made headlines. There are several reasons for these disease resurgences. Number 1, outright vaccine refusal. Number 2, waning immunity. This is where persons neglect or forget to return for their booster shots. Number 3, climate change. And number 4, conspiracy theories like Andrew Wakefield's infamous 1998 study. This study created the vaccine autism controversy in England. In 2006, the Sunday Times London discovered that Mr. Wakefield was paid over £400 to fabricate these findings. Yet it took 12 years to have this publication retracted. That is why I am elated when I see articles about anti-vax being converted to, I don't know, pro-vax. Our resolve should be to combat the misinformation shared by anti-vax. So like Amazon and Facebook, we should let truth reign in this era of fake news. For it is our social responsibility to curtail this threat to public health. Let's listen to Catherine O'Brien, Director of the Immunization at World Health Organization, who coined the term vaccine hesitancy. This is one of the top 10 global threats in 2019. And I believe that celebrities who played a deliberate role in the miseducation of vaccines and who influenced the distrust in parents in Western countries should reconsider their position. The news and entertainment outlets who demonized vaccines need to be monitored or even silenced. So let us do our part to protect persons like Sarah in my first tale. Let us remember that millions were affected and lives lost to these epidemics not too long ago. And finally, let us be more like Ethan Limburger. He did not fixate on his anti-vax parents' mistake, but he got vaccinated. He decided, I'm gonna fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can give Mr. Harry Johnson. Mr. Johnson spoke for 7 minutes, 32 seconds. And so far, I'm excited. I'm excited. Our presence in St. Vincent is powerful, so let's encourage them. Let me remind the audience that they are to speak for 8 minutes. The bell will ring once to signal you to start. The bell will again ring at 7 minutes, then a double bell at 8 minutes, indicating that time is up, and then there will be a continuous bell after 8.5 minutes. Let's welcome to the podium Miss Shania Martin from the Kingston Government School.
Chairperson, representatives from the Ministry of Education, representatives from the Ministry of Health, judges, teachers, parents, fellow participants, pleasant good morning. Chairperson, The topic that I have been asked to debate is anti-vax, a threat to the advancement in public health. Chairperson, polioeradication.org indicated in one of its publications that before there were vaccines, the fear of paralysis, severe illness, or death from polio and smallpox was a real and common reality for people worldwide. Smallpox had affected the human population for 3,000 years, infecting the young, the old, the rich, the poor, the weak, and the resilient, spread by a cough or a sneeze. Smallpox caused rashes, lesions, high fever, and painful headaches. It killed up to 30% of its victims, while leaving some of its survivors blind or disfigured. An estimated 300 million people died from smallpox in the 20th century alone, and more than 500,000 died every year before the launch of an intensified global eradication program. Smallpox was declared eradicated in 1980. Chairperson, Oren Lavine, Director of Delivery of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, asked the question, what would happen in a world without vaccine? The 1980s saw the coming of the modern anti-vaccine movement, a threat to the advancement in public health. The Washington Post of Wednesday, 5th June, reported that the Orthodox Jewish communities in Rockland County, New York, is now facing the worst outbreak of measles in nearly 30 years since the first outbreak in October 2018. New York health officials said that Del Bigtree, former television producer turned anti-vax activist, and his followers were directly responsible for the outbreak. Mr. Bigtree told parents that there was a link between measles vaccine and the developmental disorder in children. A lie, repeatedly disproved by studies around the world, involving thousands of Mr. Bigtree encouraged parents not to have their children vaccinated, allowing the highly and sometimes deadly virus to gain foothold and spread quickly through the communities. Mr. Bigtree had lied to rally organizers, telling them that the rally was about educating the children about internet pornography so that parents could come. Instead, he gave misinformation about the vaccine. There have been about 1,022 new cases of measles in 28 states in the USA since January. There are nearly 200 cases in Rockland County. Chairperson, in Pakistan, over 25,000 children were brought into hospital in the province of Khyber on April 22nd. A mass panic spread following rumors on local news channels by anti-vaxxers that children had fallen ill after receiving poisonous polio drops. The children were sent home because their conditions were not serious and could not be linked to the vaccine. The newspapers were reported the refusal rate scored to 85%, while there were deadly attacks on polio workers. The government were forced to hold a campaign nationwide. Thankfully, the panic has now receded, but there are fears that permanent damage has been done to efforts to eradicate polio from Pakistan, which paralyzed children yearly. There have been 35,000 cases in the Philippines spread by false information on Facebook. Chairperson, there are anti-vaxxers here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well, who try to put doubts in the minds of parents. However, they have not been successful. Reforum.org said that today around the world, more than 17 million people who are walking who otherwise would have been paralyzed. Thanks to vaccines, an estimated 2.5 million lives are saved every year from diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, and measles, which continue to be a threat. Chairperson, vaccination is safe and effective. All vaccines undergo long and careful review by scientists, doctors, and federal government to make sure they are safe. The American Academy of Pediatrics and of Family Physicians and the Center of Disease and Prevention all strongly support protecting children with recommended vaccinations. Dr. Simone Kisa-Beach, Chief Medical Officer here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is reminding citizens that immunization for everyone against certain preventable diseases, including measles, is offered at no cost. At all health centers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Kisa-Beach is urging parents who have not yet fully immunized their children, or for those who are due to booster shots, to do so immediately. Whether you're young or old, vaccination makes the world a healthier place for everyone now and in the future. Chairperson, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Shania. Give Shania a round of applause. Ms. Martin spoke for 7 minutes, 16 seconds. Let's welcome our next competitor or participant from the Fancy Government School, Christy Williams.
Chairperson, representatives from the Ministry of Health, representatives from the Ministry of Education, judges, teachers, parents and students, a pleasant good morning. Childhood vaccinations and the dangers that accompany them have been a topic of controversy in contemporary times. The flames of this controversy were ignited by a study released by Dr. Andrew Wakefield, which suggested that there was a correlation between vaccination and their probability to induce autism. Parents were therefore sent into a panic as they decided whether or not they should have their young children vaccinated in fear of them acquiring autism. This in turn left the health professionals fearful that the population percentage of persons acquiring vaccine-preventable diseases would rise, which can lead to a mass of disease. From this controversy, anti-vax were born. Anti-vax are persons that are against vaccination, as they believe it is a violation of human rights. During today's presentation, permit me to share with you my experience with the effects of anti-vax beliefs to the advancement of public health. Chairperson, I undoubtedly believe that anti-vax are a threat to the advancements in public health. To further support my claim, I would like to share with you a story about a baby girl, Angel, for whom a pseudonym is being used. Angel was born in a home where her parents were anti-vax. Angel was never vaccinated after birth, neither was her mother taking antenatal care. Sadly, due to these conditions, she passed away before she was even a year old. Maybe if Angel was vaccinated, she may have still been here with us today. Chairperson, consider a child's immune system to be like that of a boxer in training. In order to fight in the big matches, the boxer first trains so that he won't be taken down easily by his opponents. So too, our bodies must train with the help of vaccines to prevent our immune systems from being easily knocked out by medical diseases. However, due to Angel's parents' anti-vax beliefs, her body was not trained. Therefore, her immune system was unable to fight off the ailments that affected her. Vaccines were invented to protect us from serious illnesses and complications caused by vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles, polio, whooping cough, HPV, and mumps. If left untreated, these diseases can lead to the amputation of an arm or leg, paralysis of limbs, hearing loss, convulsions, brain damage, and death. Chairperson, imagine little St. Vincent having more persons being brainwashed by this anti-vax belief. The mortality rate of infants will become higher, and there will be a mass outbreak of vaccine-preventable diseases. Are we capable of handling such an epidemic? Can our hospitals provide the necessary care? What will become of our SVG? Chairperson, there has been a recent increase globally in outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases. The number of measles cases around the globe has jumped 30% since 2016, and the most vulnerable to this highly contagious disease are young children. There have even been reports of measles outbreaks in places where the disease was once thought to be eradicated. Due to the outbreaks, the World Health Organization has listed vaccine hesitancy as one of the 10 global health threats in 2019. Similarly, in 2014, a large measles outbreak swept through the Disneyland theme park in California, infecting over 50 people. Several of the children who spread the disease were intentionally left unvaccinated by their parents. Anti-vax belief must be stopped. Chairperson, anti-vax social media platforms are consistently sharing misleading information to the public. One such website is a Voice for Choice, who claims on their site that vaccines contain aluminum, a neurotoxin, in amount that exceeds levels deemed safe by the EPA. However, the website omits the fact that infants receive about 7 milligrams of aluminum from nursing, as it is found naturally in breast milk, compared to receiving about 4 milligrams of aluminum from vaccinations during the first year of life. The Voice for Choice also purports that there are links between vaccinations to cancer, autoimmune diseases, seizures, and even peanut allergies, theories which have long been debunked. Websites such as these are only making the fight harder for the public health officials as they try to persuade the public that vaccination is the right way to go. Clearly, anti-vax are a threat to the advancements in public health. Chairperson, vaccination is a fundamental principle of global public health. Vaccine hesitancy, however, tries to reverse the progress being made in tackling vaccine-preventable diseases. Notably, vaccination is one of the most cost-effective ways of avoiding diseases. According to the World Health Organization, it currently prevents 2 to 3 million deaths a year, and a further 1.5 million could be avoided if global coverage of vaccinations improved. Chairperson, isn't it better for Vincentians to be protected against preventable diseases than for our healthcare system to be strained to provide treatment for the diseases and finding cures and astounding yes? It will cost money to prevent them than to spend millions of dollars for providing treatment for the ill and seeking out cures. And there are millions of people worldwide who are wishing that there was a vaccine to prevent HIV or cancer. Chairperson, research has shown that even parents favorable to vaccination can be confused by the ongoing debate, leading them to question their choices. Many parents lack basic knowledge of how vaccines work, as well as access to accurate information explaining the importance of the process. Furthermore, those with the greatest need for knowledge about vaccination seem most affected by the wrongful demonization of vaccinations through social media and news media platforms. Therefore, to combat the anti-vaccination movement, we must educate parents on the importance of vaccination, debunking the myths peddled by the anti-vaccination movement, and even introducing legislations that mandates vaccination. We all have a public health commitment to our communities to protect each other and each other's children by vaccinating our own family members. Remember, as the wise saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I thank you.
Let's give Miss Christy Williams some fancy government a round of applause. Ms. Williams spoke for 8 minutes 34 seconds. 8 minutes 34 seconds. I have the unique position of seeing the interaction between participant and maybe a parent or a teacher. It's quite precious. It's quite precious. So I'm again encouraging, when you leave here today, when you come back next year for the 17th annual primary school public speaking, that you bring more parents and more teachers and we get to see that unique, rapport. Let's welcome to the podium from the Barony Government School, Tamani Roberts.
Brother tells a story, and I quote, "My son Joshua was born 13 weeks early. At just 27 weeks, weighing 900 grams. He spent nearly 3 months in intensive care and came out on oxygen. Since spending so long on a ventilator damaged his lungs. Premature babies, especially those with chronic lung disease, are incredibly vulnerable to infections. Joshua was too young to be vaccinated in order to protect him. That winter, there was a measles outbreak where I live, and I was terrified to take him outside. Measles is so contagious that you can catch it by just being near someone who's infected. I felt so hopeless as a parent, knowing that I could not protect him, and relied desperately on other mothers to provide him with herd immunity, knowing it was out of my hands." End of quote. Madam Chairperson, judges, representatives from the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health, principals, teachers, students, and other invited guests, good morning. According to a report from the World Health Organization dated 2019, the world is facing multiple health challenges, including outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases like measles and diphtheria. However, vaccine hesitancy, which is reluctance or refusal to vaccinate despite availability of vaccines, threatens to reverse progress made in tackling vaccine-preventable diseases. Before proceeding any further, let me define a few keywords for clarity. Anti-vax. According to the World Health Organization, the term anti-vax refers to persons who are against vaccination. The Merriam-Webster's Online Dictionary defines a threat as anything that has the potential to cause serious harm or danger. Dictionary.com defines advancement as a development or improvement, and the University of Pittsburgh defines public health as the science of protecting the safety and improving the health of communities through education, policy making, and research for disease and injury prevention. Madam Chairperson, I agree that anti-vax are indeed a threat to advancements in public health, and I will support my claim with 3 main points. Firstly, anti-vax and or vaccine hesitancy is threatening the historical achievements made in reducing the burdens of infectious diseases, which have plagued humanity for centuries. Madam Chairperson, permit me for a few seconds to highlight some facts as we take into account some statistics on measles worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, accelerated immunization activities have had a major impact on reducing the burdens of measles deaths worldwide. This same organization also claimed that during the years 2000 to 2017, measles vaccination prevented an estimated 21.1 million deaths worldwide, while global measles deaths have decreased by 80%. A decline from 545,000 in 2000 to 110,000 in 2017. Be that as it may, Madam Chairman, let me hasten to add that recently, the government of the United Kingdom has taken a decisive stance, revealing that it wants to ban anti-vaccine posts from social media. As doctors in Greater Manchester reported a sharp rise in measles cases between January and March this year, where the number of people contracted the disease in Europe in 2018 hit a record high with more than 82,500 reported cases and 72 deaths. With that said, Madam Chairperson, is it not clear that anti-vax really are a threat to advancements in public health? Do you not agree that without these anti-vax and their work, the statistics would have been much different? Indeed. Secondly, anti-vax and their work result in public and economic challenges that can cripple advancements. Scientific and medical communities are unanimous and clear that vaccines are the safest and most effective way to protect children from contracting diseases. They also agree that vaccines are vital in safeguarding and improving public health. However, the strength of the anti-vax movement suggests something is amiss with public trust in science and evidence-based research. For most of us who understand the importance of vaccines, Madam Chairperson, the idea that anyone will consider not vaccinating their child or children is unfathomable. A study conducted by JAMA Pediatrics in 2017 concerning public health and economic consequences of vaccine hesitancy for measles in the United States found that a 5% reduction in measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination coverage resulted in a threefold increase in annual measles cases with an additional of $2.1 million in public sector costs. This means, Madam Chairperson, that even small declines in vaccination coverage in children owing to vaccine hesitancy may have substantial public health and economic consequences that will be larger when considering unvaccinated infants, adolescents, and adults. It also means that further advancements in public health will be delayed when the government must spend more time on recovery. Finally, Madam Chairperson, I reiterate that anti-vax are indeed a threat to advancements in public health. A symposium held at the University of the Sciences in Philadelphia in mid-2008 revealed that vaccines have saved more lives than any other medical technology. But changing attitudes towards vaccination may have profound consequences for public health efforts going forward. According to these experts, widespread vaccination can produce a phenomenon known as herd immunity, which protects everyone, even unvaccinated persons in a given community. They assert that most infectious agents require a sufficient number of hosts to maintain their presence in the population. After a threshold of immunized individuals is achieved, generally in the range of 90%, the infectious agent disappears entirely, and even those without immunity are safe. However, when a sufficient number of members of a community forego vaccination, the percentage of immunized individuals can fall below the threshold for herd immunity, which gives the infectious organisms a chance to establish itself. And how will this impact public health, you may ask? This reluctance to receive vaccinations will jeopardize hard-fought gains against deadly diseases, putting an entire population and by extension the human race at risk. So in conclusion, Madam Chairperson, I propose that lawmakers implement policies that harness the skills of all key players in order to promote the use and development of vaccines. and increased funding for research into possible vaccine risks and fair compensation for documented vaccine injuries. Anti-vax must be approached cautiously to minimize the fierce opposition that has become so increasingly evident. I thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Roberts, Barley Government School. He spoke for 7 minutes, 49 seconds. When Damani started, I said, okay, budding politician. But then he took a breath and I said, clergy. So as we wait for the judges to tally, let me remind you that today we are here to hear about anti-vax, a threat to the advancements in public health. Judges had a good breakfast because there's a lot of information this morning to take in, and I'm sure you're sitting there learning something new today because I heard the word anti-vax, but I never really took the time to really think about what really anti-vax is. So I'm hoping that not because we're here supporting that we leave with some information today, because we learn something new every day. Let's welcome to the podium from the Clare Valley Government School, Ms. Fina Bowens.
According to Glenn and Glenn 2004, the development of vaccination as a public health tool is attributed to Edward Jenner and his experiments with pox in 1796. Vaccination has made an enormous contribution to global health, and as a result, smallpox has been eradicated. Madam Chairperson, the topic at hand is anti-vax, a threat to the advancements in public health. Permit me now to define some key terms, namely anti-vax, threat and public health, as we examine this current pertinent and controversial topic. Wikipedia defines the term anti-vax as vaccine hesitancy, a reluctance or refusal to be vaccinated or to have one's children vaccinated. The word threat, according to dictionary.com, refers to the possibility that something unwanted will happen or a person or thing that is likely to cause something unwanted to happen. A second definition derived from vocabulary.com says something that is a source of danger, or final definition, public health is the science of perfecting and improving the health of people and their communities. This is based on the Center for Disease Control. Madam Chairperson, in light of these definitions, the issue is simply this. Individuals who are reluctant or refuse to be vaccinated or to have their children vaccinated are considered to be a source of danger towards the protection and improvement of health of other people and their communities. I humbly submit that anti-vax, a threat to the advance in public health, is a voracious statement and as such express the sentiment of my heart. Having said this, I will outline 4 points to show the benefits of immunization to individual and also the community. Before the middle of the last century, diseases like whooping cough, polio, measles, influenza, and rubella struck hundreds of thousands of infants. Children and adults in the United States, thousands died every year from them. As vaccines were developed and became widely used, rates of these diseases declined until today most of them are nearly gone. Nearly everyone in the United States got measles before there was a vaccine, and hundreds died from it each year. More than 15,000 Americans died from diphtheria in 1921, before there was a vaccine. Only 2 cases of diphtheria have been reported to the Center of Disease Control between 2004 and 2014. An epidemic of rubella in 1964 to 65 infected 12 million Americans, killed 2,000 babies, and caused 11,000 miscarriages. Since 2012 to 15, causes of rubella were reported to the CDC. The question you may ask is, why should we keep vaccinating against diseases that we'll probably never see? Here's the reason. Most vaccines, preventable diseases, are spread from person to person. If one person in a community gets an infectious disease, he can spread it to others who are not immune. But a person who is immune to a disease because he has been vaccinated can't get that disease and hence can't spread it to others. The more people who are vaccinated, the fewer opportunities a disease has to spread. If 1 or 2 cases of disease are introduced into a community where most people are not vaccinated, outbreaks will occur. Madam Chairperson, in 2013, for example, several measles outbreaks occurred, including large outbreaks in New York City and Texas. Mainly among groups with low vaccination rates, if vaccination rates drop to low levels, nationally disease could become as common as they were before vaccines. More than 350,000 cases of measles were reported from around the world in 2012, with outbreaks in the Pacific, Asia, Africa, and Europe. In the same year, 90% of measles cases in the United States were associated with cases imported from other countries. Only the fact that most Americans are vaccinated against measles prevented these clusters of cases from becoming epidemics. Disease rates are low in the United States today, but if we in the Caribbean let ourselves become vulnerable but not vaccinated, a case that could touch off an outbreak of disease that is currently under control is just a plane ride away. Madam Chairperson, let's not forget that Carnival is just a few days away. Who knows, an epidemic could be waiting to happen. Madam Chairperson, is that what you want to happen to little St. Vincent, Haruna, land of the blessed? Can we afford to be left behind on the issues of immunization when others are moving ahead at rapid speed? Madam Chairperson, you may be saying, but vaccines contain the same antigens that cause diseases. For example, measles vaccine contains measles virus. Madam Chairperson, let me set your heart at ease. The antigens in vaccine are either kill or weaken to the point that they don't cause disease. However, they are strong enough to make the immune system produce antibodies that lead to immunity. Immunity is the body's way of preventing disease. The first time a child is infected with a specific antigen, the immune system produces antibodies designed to fight it. This takes time. Usually, the immune system can't work fast enough to prevent the antigen from causing disease, so the child still gets sick. However, the immune system remembers that antigen. If it even enters the body again, even after many years, the immune system can produce antibodies fast enough to keep it from causing disease a second time. In other words, a vaccine is a safer substitute for a child first exposed to disease. The child gets protection without having to get sick. Through vaccination, children can develop immunity without suffering from the actual diseases that vaccines prevent. Again, you may be wondering, newborn babies are immune to many diseases because they have antibodies they got from their mothers. But Madam Chairperson, this immunity goes away during the first year of life, so there is no need for immunization again. Madam Chairperson, by now it is quite clear that repercussions that can be caused by anti-vax are certainly a threat to the advancement in public health. Therefore, we need the vaccine. We need to become immunized. Firstly, we all need vaccines throughout our lives to help protect against serious diseases
every year. Tens of thousands of Americans get sick from diseases that could be prevented by vaccine. Some people are hospitalized, some even die. Immunization is our best protection against these diseases and as is the critical step in protecting those that are most vulnerable to illness. Infants and young children, the elderly, and those with chronic conditions and weakened immune systems. Secondly, outbreaks of vaccine-preventable disease and can do still happen in communities. Vaccines have greatly reduced infectious diseases that once regularly harmed or killed many infants, children, and adults. However, the germs that cause vaccine-preventable disease still exist and can be spread to people who are not protected by vaccines. For example, even though measles was declared to be eliminated. Thank you.
Well done. Give Ms. Pina Bowen from the Clare Valley government a round of applause. Ms. Bowen spoke for 9 minutes, 3 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy being in front of persons that you do not know and speak to, so let's keep encouraging them. Let's keep encouraging them. We have one more participant, and that should round up our 8 participants this morning. Remember, you have 8 minutes to speak. The bell will ring once to signal you to start. A double bell after 8 minutes, indicating that your time is up. There will be a continuous bell after 8.5 minutes. Let's welcome from the Stubbs Primary School, Kathleen Brown. Caitlin Brown. My sincerest apologies.
Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment representative, Ministry of Education representative, judges, chairperson, fellow participants, invited guests, teachers and students, good morning. Anti-vax, a threat to the advancement in public health. Vaccination. This word is a nightmare to myself and most children as well as many adults. As a grade 6 student, the horror of this word reared its head very recently, as all grade 6 students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are required to receive the tetanus vaccine before they begin secondary school. Another vaccine, the Hpv vaccine for females, is also now being administered to grade 6 females whose parents are so desirous. This is a controversial issue. Hence, many parents have opposed the administering of the Hpv vaccine. Chairperson, does this partial resistance to some vaccines make such parents anti-vax? The anti-vax movement, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, is one of the top health threats for 2019, as it threatens to reverse progress made in tackling vaccine-preventable diseases. The Collins Online Dictionary defines the term anti-vax as opposition to vaccination, despite the availability of vaccines. Hence, the anti-vax movement, spurred by theology, legal obstacles, biased medical reports, and social personalities, threatens to undo years of progress made against a range of preventable diseases and is a direct threat to the advancements made in the public healthcare system. Chairperson,
Opposition to vaccines and myths surrounding the nature of vaccines dates back as far as the 18th century. Around this time, the main opposition was based on religious views that vaccination taints the body. Further, in 1772, Reverend Edmund Massey in England called vaccines diabolical operations that were an attempt to oppose God's punishment upon man for his sins. Chairperson, the anti-vax movement also has a political and legal premise. In the 19th century in Britain, anti-vaccine activists formed the Anti-Vaccination League in London with their purpose to protect the liberty of the people. The group believed that the country's law, which made vaccination for children mandatory, was an infringement on the human rights of individuals. Hussein Ali and Hussein 2018 stated that the most recent opposition to vaccines has been against the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. This anti-vax campaign has led to the outbreak of measles in countries where the measles virus was previously considered eliminated. The 1998 study by Dr. and researcher Andrew Wakefield, published in prominent medical journal The Lancet, that linked the MMR vaccine to autism in young children, has been the strongest blow to recent advancements in vaccination in public healthcare. Wakefield's study was retracted a few years later because its findings were flawed and unfounded. Nevertheless, the damage was already done. Chairperson, the effects of Wakefield's study were far-reaching. His study had ignited doubt in the public healthcare system and the effectiveness and safety of vaccination. Following the study, MMR vaccination rates in the UK dropped from 92% in 1996 to 84% in 2002. 1 year later, the rate was as low as 61% in some parts of London. In 2006, from January to May, 449 persons contracted measles, and the country recorded its first measles-related death since 1992. Not surprisingly, in 2008, the UK declared that for the first time in 14 years, measles was an endemic. Further, according to the Guardian newspaper, by 2018, there were 83,000 confirmed cases of measles and 72 deaths by measles in Europe. Similarly, the US also had measles outbreaks from 2010 to present. In 2013, the US saw 187 measles cases in 16 states. In 2014, there were 667 cases in 27 states, an increase of 508 cases in 11 states. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, from January 1st to May 31st, 2019, 981 individual cases of measles have been confirmed in 36 states. This is the greatest number of cases ever reported in the US since 1992, and since measles was declared eliminated in 2000. These figures demonstrate how rapidly the disease can devastate a country which has low vaccination rates. It is therefore not surprising that communities with a significant anti-vax population, such as Europe and the United States, have been victims of outbreaks of measles. Furthermore, celebrities have also used their influence in the media to fuel the anti-vax movement. The list includes actors such as Charlie Sheen, Robert De Niro, Jenny McCarthy, and our very own Anissa Batiste. In 2007, McCarthy claimed that the MMR vaccine triggered autism in her son, despite research showing that this is medically impossible. Our Caribbean region has not been unaffected either. A recent scare took place on May 2nd, 2019 in neighboring island St. Lucia. The Church of Scientology's cruise ship Free Winds, with 300 passengers aboard, was quarantined in St. Lucia's port for measles after a female crew member was diagnosed with the disease. Additionally, in crisis-stricken Venezuela, a measles outbreak has seen neighboring islands scrambling to contain the disease from spreading to their shores. Chairperson, we are aware that diseases spread rapidly among unvaccinated persons because of the ease of modern travel. Therefore, people can become exposed even if they live in areas where the disease is not common. Hence the need for vaccination. Chairperson, in response to the anti-vax movement, the medical fraternity has debunked the claim that the MMR vaccine is linked to autism in young children. Chairperson, today, only 85% of the world's infants receive the first dose of the MMR vaccine, and even fewer get the second dose. While this figure seems satisfactory, the WHO mandates that a 95% vaccination rate is needed in order to prevent outbreaks. With this 10% difference, immunization of the herd has not been achieved. Hence the reason why the measles virus is still a threat as an infectious epidemic. Chairperson, it is clear that the anti-vax movement is a major threat to the progress made to the advancements of public health care, as religious views, legal positions, medical misinformation, and celebrity influence continues to erode the public's trust in health programs. I thank you.
Just before I do that, Caitlin spoke for 8 minutes, 35 seconds. 8 minutes, 35 seconds. Let's give all our participants a resounding round of applause. The judges are tallying Caitlin's presentation. And subsequently after that, we would be going into our impromptu segment. We will come back to the podium where they pick from the bag. They have 1 minute to prepare, and then they will be sent paper and pencil. Let's welcome our impromptu segment our first presenter, Miss Rianne Cozier from the Beckwith Anglican Primary. Accountability purposes. Ms. Kozier's topic is 3 things that scare me in the world. 3 things that scare me in the world. Remember, you wait till the bell to start. Prepare and then.
Protocol have already been established. Good morning once more. Madam Chairperson, there are 3 things that are the most frightening to me in the whole entire world. For example, a centipede. One morning, I get up, I go to the bathroom. Then to my surprise, I see a big centipede on the wall crawling to come after me. I ran out of the bathroom with fear of that little centipede, which I say was big. Secondly, I am also afraid of snakes. I hate to see them. Especially, even though, actually, snakes that are small and snakes that are big, I still hate them. And finally, big lizards. I hate to see them crawling around the yard. Ugh, I thank you.
Rihanna, I'm afraid of snakes as well, so don't worry, you're not alone. Give Miss Rihanna Cozier from the Bethlehem Anglican a round of applause. She spoke for 1 minute 24 seconds. Her topic is, how would I spend $1 million?
Chairperson, protocol has been established. My topic is, how would I spend $1 million? Well, to begin, the first, half, I guess, would be spent on charity. I like to contribute to people who will need it more than I do. Then I'll put some on my bank book because I would need it later on in life, and I would use the rest to buy a house so I could live.
Sit up, you president. He's ready for it. His topic is, why I deserve an allowance.
And once more, protocol has already been established. My topic is, why I deserve an allowance. Now, most of us know an allowance is a sum of money given on some basis. Could be weekly, could be monthly, if you so desire, yearly. I would think I deserve one because it can be used to teach many skills. For instance, money management. Because if you pay me an allowance weekly, it can teach me how to manage my money properly for when I have a job. It can also be used as just a little treat because you just give them a little sum of money once they do something good, and that could work for small children, training them to become and do the right thing. So I would state that. But overall, generally, I think I deserve an allowance because, well, I work hard.
Shania's topic is, if I were a fish.
Protocol has now been established. My topic for the day today is, if I was a fish. Well, for one, if I were a fish, I would like to be a tiger fish. 2, I would not like to be near or close to a shark. 3, for me, I would like to be in close to a reef where things are actually beautiful. 3, I would like to, 4, sorry for my mistake name. 4, I would also like to be, I would also like to be swimming around a lot. I would like to have a nice, very nice, beautiful way for I to sleep or a home. And that's thank you.
The Government School, Christy Williams. Christy, topic is a day as a news reporter. A day as a news reporter.
Protocol has already been established. Good morning once again. I would love to be a news reporter for a day because I will get to interview people and find out like what's going on in the world, because basically people say that fancy is behind a guard back. So I like to find out what's going on around. I would interview persons about the trade wind exercise that recently happened because I didn't really get to experience it and I'd like to find out. I would share all the local news and also put on my most international voice because I'm on TV. So I would really love to be a news reporter for the day, and it will make my parents very proud, and I'll be very happy to see myself on TV, and all my friends will be like saying, "What Christy on TV?" And thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen from the fancy government school, Miss Christy Williams. 1 minute, 3 seconds. And I do hope that for a day you get to be a news reporter. This topic is a day I will always remember. A day I will always remember.
Protocol has already been established. The topic I have chosen is a day that I will always remember. The day that I will always remember is the day I passed the CPEA exam to go to the Simbitu Boys Grammar School. And I have got to shown off my talent and know that I can work very hard in my schoolwork. And know the teachers and my parents have been proud of me. And I know I made their nose and their head swell. and that is my dream and my goal for life. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Damani Roberts from the Barley Government School. Fina's topic is school lunches. School lunches.
Protocol has already been established. Good morning once again. School lunches, my favorite time, although I don't eat at school. But still, they prepare good lunches. I buy my lunch and I enjoy eating with my friends. I thank you.
Let's give Fina Bowens a round of applause from the Clare Valley Government School. Caitlin's topic is my biggest concern for youths my age.
Protocol has already been established. Good morning once again. I got quite an interesting topic. I got my biggest concern for youths my age. So, as some of you will know, I placed second for the CPEA. So I'm kicking things off with some school-based stuff. Some youths at my school, they're not really putting in emphasis in their schoolwork. They're playing, they're going Monday jam, getting things up with carnival, talking about how, I go in H2, I go and soap up my skin, yes, and they got this attitude towards their future. They don't really concern about their future, they're not really concerned. And they have this attitude, they get on big manation, big man, talking about boys, I like this, I like that. And some of them in grade 2, So, I am really concerned about young people these days. They need to start putting their life in order. Start going to church, worship the Lord. Amen, I thank you.
Junior Johnson of the CW Prescott Primary. And in first position, Miss Christy Williams of the Fancy Government School. Audience, you're waning in your applause. I can feel it. I can feel it. So are you ready for the results?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want this to be Miss SPG. Okay? The judge's decision, the final. Alright, so overall, and they come to, remember the digital rep said that there are phones involved. Please use them for good and not for evil. In third position, overall, in our primary school public speaking competition, third position, Mr. Hiram Junior Johnson from the CW Prescott Primary. Fantastic. Give him a round of applause. In second position, hailing all the way from the Fancy Government School, Miss Christy Williams. She receives a smartphone and $300. Mr. Hiram Johnson received a smartphone and $200. We're loving it. Are you ready for first position? All right. I'm not ready to give you first position yet.
That's all right.
All right. First position, we have Miss Caitlin Bob from Scouts Primary School.
That's right.
I think we can do better than that. Let's give Caitlin a round of applause. She receives a smartphone and $500. Thank you, Digicel. And she receives that large trophy, almost tall as she is. Wonderful.